Okay, everyone, Wednesday morning. Good morning to you. Lovely to have you with us. You can tell it's going to be an action-packed morning briefing today because me and Tony are already getting kind of heated, not with each other, but just in general about last night. And we hadn't even pressed go live yet, Tony. So it's probably good that we've done that now and we now have an audience
Yes.
watching us. Yeah, how are you getting on?
I'm fine. I think your initial knee-jerk reaction was probably one of disappointment because it could have been more, the manager and a few of the players have said that. But in the cold light of day, it's another cracking point for Celtic. It's 9 points after 6 games in the Champions League, this elite level of club competition football. 2 wins, 3 draws and a defeat. And the defeat was a bruising one on match day 2. So if you'd have said after match day 2 you'll be sitting on 9 points after 6 games, people would have questioned, your wisdom on that. But this club is learning how to play at this level. If you can't win, don't get beat. And I know they were supposedly decimated by injury and stuff, but it's still now in your hands. The young boys game was always going to be crucial. Yep, performance wasn't great. Could have been possibly they were a bit passive. Could have won it, but also could have lost it. In the past, I'm seeing Piazza's header loop into the net, Hamish, and Celtic with 1-0, and you feel...
I think we all are.
Yeah. So we've got a goalkeeper, who can win you points in the Champions League. We've got a central defence who've kept 2 clean sheets in back-to-back away matches. No, that to me is progression. So I can't really understand some negativity that's been flying about. I really can't get my head around that. I know what I watched. Performance could have been better. There could have been more in it for Celtic. But it's still in their hands. Their destiny lies in their own hands in terms of qualification. And I'm taking that from it.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously been up all day thinking about exactly how to feel, and obviously during the game, it was similar against Club Brugge. There's always a frustration when Celtic don't win, especially because we are used to winning.
Yeah.
The thing is, in Europe, it's different, and you're up against good teams. I don't think Dinamo Zagreb were anywhere near the level of Club Brugge last night, and I think that's why there's probably more frustration that we didn't win that game last night, because I think it was a game that was there to be won. And I think if we put in some of the performances we have put in this season, the majority of the performances we put in this season, I think would have been good enough to win that last night. I think last night was, for me, one of the poorer displays we've had this season, and there haven't been many of them. There's potentially factors for that. I guess I'm making excuses here, but the pitch I thought was really poor, and I thought that was something that it was interesting that Kasper Schmeichel and Brendan Rodgers picked up on. But as I say, I think there's 2 things. There's the game last night in isolation, disappointing, I would say. All right result, acceptable result, clearly. Said that before the game, a point was fine. Performance, expected more. But then you look at the overall picture, and I do want to discuss that in today's briefing, because I think it's important. And Celtic are in a really good place. And last night has probably strengthened their place.
Yeah.
Because we stopped Zagreb from taking 3 points last night. And I know I said this to John yesterday, but everyone's fixated, and I've been guilty of this as well, because I'm the one talking about it more often than most people. But everyone's fixated with this, 10 points. You must get to 10 points. And that's very true. It's also a league table we're in. And if we'd have lost last night, Dinamo Zagreb would have gone ahead of us. They would have virtually been assured a knockout place, therefore taking one of the places that we're going for. And there's not many of those places left. Probably only 4 or 5 places left. Yeah. So I think that was a value. And the reality is, with us stopping them from winning last night, it was a bit of a 6-pointer. Their chances look kind of unlikely now. They need to get a big win, and it seems unlikely in one of their last 2 games. So I've spoken a lot there. I'm going to catch up in some comments, Tony. You can chat away on whatever you want and maybe say good morning to people, etc. And I'll start a few comments and we'll get people involved.
Yeah, good morning, people. No, I think, I have to agree with that. We are in a league it's still, I'd still rather have our destiny in our own hands, Hamish, in terms of qualification. And we always felt that if we were in a decent position, the young boys' game at Celtic Park would be crucial. It turns out it probably is going to be crucial to qualification hopes. Yeah, and people were talking about, oh, I don't want to be heading to Birmingham to get something from Aston Villa. That's not ideal, but I don't put it past Celtic to be able to do that because we are a good football team and we're growing in this competition. And I think, the bigger the challenge and the bigger the team, it brings the best out in this Celtic team and the manager. So I've no qualms about them being able to beat young boys. Correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have a point in the tournament so far. So you have to do to them what you did to Slovan Bratislava. And it'll be one of those cracking nights again at Celtic Park, and all the conditions will be right. There will be no excuses for not winning that football match. That's and you can load all the pressure onto the players and the manager all you want, but that is a must-win football match for Celtic in the Champions League. They simply have to win that, and there'll be no excuses for them not doing that. So it's a scenario you would have bitten your hand off for after match day 2. So I just ask to bring that on, and it's not till late January, isn't it? So we've got a wee while to kind of. Yeah, but I agree with everything you said. The performance was disappointing. You felt like that there was more for the taking against Bruges, and you felt even more like that last night. But listen, it's we are where we are, and we're still in a strong position. And I think what you mentioned there, that you took out one of your rivals for one of those slots last night, because it's unlikely that Dynamo Zagreb will qualify. So that was a good thing in itself. And you look at the teams that are struggling. Some big teams are struggling to get into that top 24. So we're in a good position.
I've been reading out a fair bit from this social media account, Football Meets Data, and every time I read them out, I preface it by saying I'm not 100% sure where they get their information from. I think they run whatever ELO, assuming it's not the band, based simulations are. They run 10,000 of them based on how things stand at the moment. Basically, what I'm getting to is last night after the games, they posted the probabilities of a certain number of points, the chance that gives you of making the top 24. So we are on 9 points. Already they reckon if you finish in 9 points, you'll have a 38% chance of making the top 24. So if we lost our last 2 games, at the moment they reckon there's like a 38% chance we'd make it. Clearly, that would be a bit of a risk. More chance not making it than making it. If we get 10 points, so if we were to draw either of our last 2 games, they reckon our chances would go up to 83% of making the top 24, which is pretty likely, more than a 4 in 5 chance. If you get to 11 points, obviously if we're to get 2 points or more from our remaining games, that goes up to 99%. So we're on 9 points. I think you need another point, possibly 2, to absolutely guarantee it. And you've got to question yourself, are Celtic capable? Do we all genuinely feel Celtic are capable of getting 2 more points from our final 2 games? And 100% I back this Celtic team against young boys. I'm not going to underestimate them. I genuinely am not. But this is about backing Celtic, and at Celtic Park, in a game where a point might be enough, but certainly a win will definitely be enough. Do you back the Celtic team to come and do that? I certainly do. And there's maybe an argument the campaign was always going to come down to this young boys game. That's potentially what you would say right from the start. Maybe people were always looking at this match day 7 young boys game. Would you have signed up for a chance to beat them and qualify? Yes. And I got a comment in there comparing, Tom Dow saying young boys won't be any worse than that Zagreb team. We struggled to create anything. We weren't great last night. I think young boys at Celtic Park is a much more favourable game for Celtic than Dinamo Zagreb away from home. Dinamo Zagreb, who had 7 points going into last night's game. I know they're not in a particularly great place, Zagreb, but they're a stronger team than young boys. And basically, as I reiterate, it won't be easy. but I back this Celtic team to get to the top 24. I feel, to use a thing that Ryan was saying the other week, I feel supremely confident Celtic will make the top 24. I genuinely do. And I think we might view last night. To be honest, I think once we qualify for the top 24, we'll have forgotten about last night and it won't really matter that much.
Yeah, I back the team to beat Young Boys as well. I'm not dismissing Young Boys, and I know it's become a highly pressured game now. We were speaking about that the other day, but this is why you're in the competition. To play games like this, high pressure games, I'm not saying Young Boys are elite level opposition, but they're the next one that's in front of you in order for you to fulfil your ambition of qualifying for the knockout phase. So you have to learn to play these games and learn to cope with the demands of playing, fighting domestic fronts and playing in Europe. Celtic have grown in this competition. Yeah, could they have got more against Bruges and Dynamo Zagreb? Without a doubt, but they didn't lose those games. We were making the point that it's the best run since 1986. 4 games unbeaten. That's this team alone. So they're clearly learning. They're clearly progressing. And yeah, the performance could have been better, and our immediate reaction one of disappointment. But they're not out of the tournament. You had a chance to advance to which was one of your goals at the start of the season. And the manager said they came back to make Celtic not just participate, but to compete. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are we not competing at this level?
Yeah, every game apart from Dortmund we've competed in
a long time. And I've seen things from this Celtic team in this competition that have made me extremely proud. Last night, changed with disappointment, but I mean, I know what I'm watching with this team. I'm watching progression at this level under this manager and this group of players. I can't speak for anyone else. I don't ever speak for anybody else, but I'm just trying to say that, the past 2 results, disappointed. But overall, in this Champions League phase, the inaugural Champions League phase, I'm watching a team improving all the time. And I'm happy with that. And I would have bitten your hand off after that 7-1 drubbing in Dortmund if somebody said, by the way, you'll be playing Young Boys to clinch a playoff spot. I would have been
potentially with a draw. Seriously?
So bring that on. And at Celtic Park, under the lights, midweek, everything, a must win. So give me a must win, because I'd rather have that. I know a draw maybe help them too, but I want certainties. Just go for the win.
I agree. I think to be fair, I think that's a big game. Like, I think if we didn't win that, then you'd look at it and go, right, okay, that's disappointing, because that will be a game we'll be big favourites for that game. But as I say, I back the team. I think the team are probably unfortunate in that they exceeded expectations earlier in the campaign with that draw in Bergamo, and more notably the win over Leipzig. And everyone's expectations, which were already quite high, just went massive. People were talking about us making, the top 8 genuinely, and that was a genuine conversation at the time. And there was just, as I say, like, maybe before the campaign, I have no doubt before the campaign, people would have been looking at Zagreb and going, right, okay, you get a point there, that's all right. Whereas after we beat Leipzig, suddenly everyone looked at the 3 games in a row, Bruges at Celtic Park, Zagreb away, Young Boys at Celtic Park, and people were going, 9 points there is doable. And the reality is these are good teams we're playing against. Even Zagreb yesterday, who weren't great, still have quality players. They still have players in that team that played last night that you're going to be hearing about in years to come. The fella, and he's so good I've forgotten his name. Is it Butarina? Is apparently like the next big thing in Croatian football. So you're going to be hearing about him for years to come. But I just think expectations went up. Listen, DVP talking about us losing 1 of our last 7 Champions League matches. I just think you need to remember a year ago we couldn't win at all at this level. Yeah. And then we won that Feyenoord game. And I just think the team is still learning at this level. And Sean was asking whether those things I read out about the points are from the start of the tournament. No, they're not. They're from updated as of last night, Sean. So I just as a repeat, last night, and we can touch on the game in a minute, Tony, because I think that's an important thing to do as well. Don't just brush over it. But I think last night might end up not even being massively important. If we beat Young Boys, I think people probably look back at last night and go, right, okay, we got a draw there. That's fine. The goal was to qualify for the top 24, and we did it.
If you qualify for a knockout phase, nobody will remember the Bruges game and the Young Boys game. It'll be a footnote. So will the 7-1 aberration against Dortmund. You will look at the highs of Bratislava and Leipzig and Young Boys if you beat them and qualify. That'll be your takeaways from the section, and also the takeaways of the fact that you're progressing at this level. You haven't just participated, you've actually competed, which the manager said he came back for that very reason. So I think, I just think sometimes, you just need to look at the broader overall picture. We know the performance. The manager was disappointed with the performance. He said it himself. He felt that it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But again, you would have earmarked that to go away and get a point at the start of the section or whenever, and would have thought that was a good result. Just the circumstances which you got that point, you're feeling a bit disappointed with that. But, give me that any day rather than, getting defeats and, clobberings in Europe. You feel a lot better about yourself. You feel a lot better about yourself with the situation, given the situation you're in. You beat Young Boys and you qualify for the knockout phase. Yeah, give me a bit of that.
Yeah. The irony was, after Dortmund, the one thing we were all calling out for was Celtic to be more secure away from home. And you can't argue with it in terms of security. The last couple of games, 2 goalless draws. I was actually looking, we obviously we've kept back-to-back clean sheets away from home in the Champions League. And I was looking up earlier because it's a rare thing as a Celtic fan, and it's a rare thing. And I looked up last night. I went through all the matches over the last load of years, and taking away qualifying. We've done it a couple of times in qualifying, back-to-back clean sheets. We've been playing teams from Estonia and Armenia and places like that. But taking away qualifying, the last time we kept back-to-back clean sheets in away European matches was on the road to Seville in 2003. Anfield, followed by Boavista. I don't think we've ever done it in the Champions League. I think the last time we did it in the European Cup was potentially like 1984. So I think the team have got a lot to learn about keeping the ball and creating chances away from home in Europe. But defensively, you cannot argue with the improvement defensively in those matches since Dortmund.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's a remarkable stat. You've just
proud of it, thank you.
Yes, knowledge bomb. Listen, and so what does that tell you? That tells you how hard it's been for Celtic to play in Europe in this competition. The Seville run, you said, was the last thing they actually kept back-to-back clean sheets against a calibre of opposition. You know what I mean? Which was the UEFA Cup, the old UEFA Cup, now the Europa League. Wasn't even the Champions League. And then you're going back to 1984 for the Champions League European Cup. So there are no easy games at that level, no matter who you're playing. Back then you were playing the champions of every league, whatever country they came from. So, and Celtic's Achilles heel has always been losing matches in Europe, but also, conceding goals, and lots of them. I get back to it. I'm watching a team progressing, adapting, and knowing how to play. If you're not going to win a football match because your performance is, under par, fine, but don't lose it. And I've seen Celtic teams play like that and then watch, as I said earlier, and I referenced it, Piazza's header go in with 10 minutes to go, and you feel absolutely pig sick because you think, oh, we've been done again. That's why we've got Austin Trusty said, a world-class goalkeeper. And speaking of Austin Trusty, he's been part of those back-to-back clean sheets, the one in Bergamo when he starred alongside Liam Scales, and the one in Zagreb when he starred alongside Cameron Carter-Vickers. So that's functioning as well. That part of your team's function, that they kind of get the job done. He very rarely loses a header. Now, you can go through the team last night and you can have, you can say certain players didn't turn up. We still got a point, and lots of players didn't turn up. We wish they had turned up, but they didn't. But we still didn't get beat. So you started a comment there about ball retention. Joe Hart was talking about that. Joe Hart's brilliant in co-commentary, incidentally. Very enlightening. But the ball retention against RB Leipzig was on point, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Last night, from certain individuals, the ball retention was deplorable. Yeah. And I think you know who I'm talking about in that sense.
I thought they started all right in the first half. Like I really thought we started the game well and we're all over them. But as the game went on, some certain players, Rio Hatate was the key one, was just so lax. I felt everything he was doing, Hatate, the amount of time he would get the ball, and I don't know if he thought he was in outer space or something, but he just probably lack atmosphere last night, eh? Boom, boom. But he thought he clearly thought he had so much time, and the amount of times players would just come up his back and take the ball off him, and then his passing was really poor. So I found him especially disappointing last night. Thought Paulo Bernardo was fabulous. I really did. I think that guy, and I know you've been banging this drum for a while. Bernardo's reached the point for me with Bernardo. He must be in that team for Sunday, and I think he will be.
I'm glad you said that, because you watched the same game as me then. Bernardo was our best midfielder. I was actually shocked when he came off. I was a bit because I felt Hatate deserved to come off. Probably have taken off McGregor as well, despite it being his 100th appearance. No, he's had better games, let's just say that. But he wasn't worth it. Hatate, for me, I flagged it up as well. He wasn't even erratic last night. He was just brutal. Nothing he did came off. And that half turn that he plays on, the players are just sussing that out very early. And he tries it too often. And then I think that affects his game, because he just got no rhythm last night. He get no passing groove. And even the simplest things became a chore for him. And it was just a night to forget for Hatate. And which is strange, because he's a quality footballer. When he gets it right, he gets it right. But when he gets it wrong, it goes awry, doesn't it?
He's so hit or miss, Tony. He's so hit or miss. How can you play and
you can't have that at that level?
Leipzig and then last night be poor. And it's the same domestically. He has unbelievable games and other games really poor. And it's starting to frustrate me a lot, because we know that Hatate is so gifted and so talented, and you just start to question, what's the issue? Why are you struggling to find consistency?
Certain games, yeah. And that's what frustrates you about Hatate, because it's there. You highlight that, and you put that performance last night up against his Leipzig performance, and it is night and day. It's
different player,
correct? And as I say, not having a go at Cal Mack, he was man-marked last night. They did their homework as well defensively. They just decided, well, if you're not going to come and break us down, we ain't giving you an inch of room. They did their homework, and Kuhn flitted in and out, but not enough to make you confident that he was going to do something spectacular. And and I thought Bernardo, for me, I just think Bernardo's a highly skilled technician. And I thought if we were going to get any joy last night, it was going to come from Bernardo. And I was disappointed with his free kick, because I think he saw himself that, he
wasn't far away.
He was inches away, but it was still far away enough, and he was really gutted that, because he got it up, he just didn't get it down. And, but I felt that he was, of the three midfielders last night, he was the best baller in it. And I get that there's tactical substitutions, and you get, give me 65 minutes, you've run your race, and I'll substitute you, I'll bring the other guys on. But I felt he was unfortunate to be taken off. You wanted more from Engels and McCowan when they came on. But again, they still contributed to seeing the game out, and Celtic never lost. So, not one that you'll look back on fondly in terms of displaying performance.
Terrible game.
you'll just file it under, forgettable.
Worst games in history.
That kind of draw, put it in there. But again, there's still positives to come out of it in terms of the fact they didn't get beat, they got a point, and they're still in with a wonderful chance of qualifying for the knockout phase, which is what you set out to do, or the playoff phase, which you set out to do at the start of this Champions League phase. And yeah, you move on, Hamish, I think is the phrase. You move on, and you're moving on to a big one on Sunday, so we'll just bin that and consign it to the history books.
Yeah, just a reminder for anyone, there's been a bit of chat in the live chat about Luke McCowan for Sunday. Luke McCowan's cup tied, so he won't be playing in the League Cup final, which to me is just a bit ridiculous. I really, might sound like sour grapes, but I really don't understand the whole cup tied thing. I don't understand why that's a thing these days, and certainly for a player, I mean, he probably played against Fraserburgh or someone like that for Dundee, and that's the reason he's missing potentially the biggest game of his career. And I think he might have been a shout to start. Maybe not, actually. Maybe he wouldn't have started, but certainly would have come into the game. So I think that's a loss. Alistair Johnson did go off. The chat is
he'll be fine.
Hurt his hip, but he'll be okay, I think, which is
he'll be fine. Said he'll be fine as well. So all good. So that's positive for Sunday. I've seen Celtic lose these kind of games, Hamish, many times in Europe. So I'm not too despondent. I'm disappointed at the performance, and you feel it was there for taking, lots of people saying a wee bit more risk taking and all that. Risk taking can also lose you matches as well. So I think there was a point where Celtic were content not to lose that match, and if they could sneak, they could. They were unlucky. I actually felt that Ida ran the wrong side of the defender when Engel slid that one in, and he's inches away.
Great football, wasn't it, for us?
Yeah, it's a brilliant piece of football to create it. But if Ida goes in front of him instead of behind him, and I get that he's anticipating the ball coming across, but again, learning at this level, you maybe not do it the next time. The next time you maybe run in front of the defender. But these are all things that you pick up as you go along. So, but it was a brilliant piece of defending, I have to say. That is the definition of last gasp, last ditch, call it what you like. And had he not done that, Celtic could well have sneaked it 1-0. But yeah, so there was enough for me to say, right, okay, let's take the point and move on to Sunday, because Sunday's massive now, and it's, you're just hoping that, well, there'll be a raised level of performance from last night. You know that for a fact.
I think so. I mean, yeah, could be wrong. I've seen some people saying potentially Celtic are in a bit of a dip now at the moment, and people kind of generalising over recent matches and saying, ever since I can't remember, there was a certain match. Ever since then, we've been a bit poor. Ever since Leipzig, I think someone said, we've kind of been a bit poor. I think Celtic are going along fine generally. Sunday's a big game, a huge game, biggest of the season so far, I would probably say, with a trophy on the line. And if you win that, it really is an unbelievable start to the season, and we're on for a spectacular season. If you lose it, your start to the season looks nowhere near as good, and that's the brutal reality of the game. But we can look forward to it now, Tony. We can talk about it and discuss our teams and discuss what our rivals will bring to the party, and discuss whether we think we're going to scud them or whether we think it's going to be very tight. And spoiler, I think it's going to be the latter. I think it's going to be another nail biter at Hampden.
I never ever felt that there would be, as I want to say, an unless clack the curtain on the cards. Lots of people are getting a bit carried away about that. You are playing the only team who are capable of possibly beating you, and you are the bounce of a ball, a decision, a VAR, something away from losing a football match. So all of these things come in to play on Sunday. I think if Celtic turn up, and I stress they have to turn up, and usually the team that turns up wins this football match. Celtic for this moment. I've got better players. They're in a better team. They are the better team. And the manager keeps banging on about the fact they're in a good place. So I think they have to prove all these things on Sunday. But like you, I think it will be tight because your rivals are coming with a point to prove to themselves, to their supporters, and also to Celtic that they can compete with Celtic for the major prizes. So we shall see. And I expect both teams to be bang at it on Sunday. And like you, I'm anticipating probably a nerve shredder and a tight affair. Yeah, of course. I'm always of that. When people were talking about it'll be this score, it'll be that score, I never ever buy into that. Only because I'm the eternal pragmatist. I'm also the eternal optimist and dreamer as well. But I just think you have to have a healthy respect for your rivals as well and not be dismissive of what they could bring, because on any given day they can rise to the occasion and can beat you in one-off matches over the course of a season. I think it'll be difficult for Rangers to prove that they're the best team in the country, but on a one-off occasion such as this, they can certainly rise to it. But again, I don't particularly care about what they bring to the party. I'm more concerned about that Celtic are bang at it on Sunday when the first whistle goes, and I'm sure the manager will have them well up for that.
And again, possibly looking at last night, it may not be the worst thing come Sunday that our performance was off it a bit, because I guess it's a bit of an easy team talk. I mean, it would have been an easy team talk for Brendan Rodgers anyway, but he just needs to say, guys, let's really improve our game here, because that wasn't really good enough going forward. But I do think it'll be tight. You look at the recent finals we've had against them, and we've won not just finals, but semi-finals as well at Hampden, and we've won the majority of the recent ones.
Yeah,
they've all been tight. They've all been won by a goal from my memory. So I do expect
Hamish
similar.
There's no gimmies. Even in the 90s when Celtic were poor and Rangers were lording it over them, Celtic still went to Ibrox and won. They still won one-off cup games and stuff like that. So it's, it happens. So Celtic have to be on their guard on Sunday big time. As I say, you're playing the only team that's possibly capable of beating you this season. So you have to give that the reverence and respect it deserves. It's the first trophy of the season. Brendan's made a big thing about wanting it back. Show that hunger. Go and get it back. You lost it at the first hurdle last season at Kilmarnock Rugby Park, again when you produced an absolute shocker. So, I think producing absolute shockers is something that I don't associate this particular brand of Brendan Rodgers Celtic team with, but it happens sometimes. You just don't want it to happen on Sunday. Last night wasn't great. Bruges wasn't great. Aberdeen wasn't great. Hibs arguably wasn't great. So going back to what you were saying earlier, I don't think there's any kind of malaise. They're still getting the job done, but I think Sunday takes care of itself in terms of your attitude, your application, your effort, and what it means. So I've no doubt in my mind that they'll be firing on all cylinders for Sunday. They have to be, because you're playing a team who feels that they've got something to prove and have been growing supposedly in confidence over the week. And even after last night, there was grumblings of Celtic and all that.
We're hearing that for
7
years.
Yeah, correct. So, we'll see, won't we? We'll find out on Sunday, but I've no qualms about Celtic being bang at it under this manager and the players. So, last night doesn't affect what's going to happen on Sunday. You just need a race performance for Sunday, and this team are capable of it. As I say, the bigger the game, the bigger the challenge. It brings the best out of them.
It does. Listen, we've got a big old build-up to the game. We're only at Wednesday morning, and we have until Sunday afternoon to go. So, stick with us. That'll do us for today, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and commenting or not commenting, whatever you chose to do. If you have enjoyed this video and fancy supporting the channel by subscribing, you'll also get notified whenever we go live so you don't miss any of the action. That would be much appreciated. It's absolutely free, everyone. It doesn't cost you a penny to subscribe on YouTube. You just have to click the button. Okay, Tony, thank you again. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And I'm not with you tomorrow, actually. I'm not actually with you until Monday. Just remembered I've got a couple of days off, Tony. So bye, everyone. I'll hopefully speak to you after the cup final, all being well.